Hey folks, this is Matt McConnell again, talking about the human resource frame. So the human resource frame um, deals with the idea that people are the most important resource. It's not about big companies that exist for the people to serve them. It's about the people in those companies, or in my case, as an educator, schools existing to serve the needs of students and the needs of communities. Um, in this human resource frame, it's like one big family. And within a family, every member has a diverse set of skills, a diverse set of attitudes, and a diverse set of needs. Within this family, people should be involved in strategic planning. They should be involved in the decision-making process. In essence, their voice should be heard. There are four main principles in this human resource frame. First, the organization exists to serve human needs, not the other way around. Secondly, the organization needs people as much as people need the organization. Without people, the organization can't do its job, can't thrive. Third, when communication is poor, one or both sides suffer. Hence why it's so important for people to have their voices heard, to be able to share their opinions both ways instead of just from the top down with the boss telling people what to do. Fourth and finally, a good fit benefits both sides. Obviously, we as humans, we need jobs, we need something to do, but a good fit, someone who is great at their job, also really benefits the company. So moving forward, as far as the hierarchical structure of leadership goes, you can see I created a graphic here on the left side of the screen, and I'll explain what that is or what that is representing. But I want to start at the top with student needs. Student needs, in my opinion, are the number one thing that should drive people forward. As an educator, I am in my position to make sure that students are successful, that they feel cared for and respected so that they can learn and ultimately be prepared for life after their academic experience. So what I've created here is supposed to be a golf tee. I'm going to use a golf analogy to talk about the structure of leadership. So you can see it says student needs at the top. They'd be like the golf ball. Everything below them is propping them up and supporting them until they're ready to take flight. So below student needs, you've got the entire school community, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before I move on, I want to point out that it's student needs, not just students, because I want to make sure that it's clear that I'm not advocating for students running the school. I think we can all agree that that would be chaos and would be counterproductive. But the needs of students, not their wants, not their desires, not what they complain about, but what they need, that's at the top. Supporting them, like the golf tee would be, is the school community. So in that, you've got the principal, the office staff, teachers, and the people that are interacting with students on a day-to-day basis. You've got paraprofessionals, custodians and maintenance staff who need to do their job, cooks who feed the kids and make sure that they're prepared to learn so they can focus on what they're doing in the classroom. All of those people have an important role. Personally, I want to create a school atmosphere where if somebody sees something that needs done, they do it. Okay? In essence, I want them to take on this idea of ownership of their learning experience. So for example, I remember my first year, I was working late in my classroom one night, and the custodian came in and was working on cleaning trash cans and cleaning off the boards. And I offered to take my trash can that was right by my desk and dump it in her cart to try and speed the process up. And I remember she scolded me because technically that's not in my contract. It's not something that I'm going to do. And her fear was, well, if you start doing that, I'm going to be out of a job eventually because the school is going to ask you to start doing my job. And that really caught me off guard. And even to this day, it frustrates me, that mindset of, well, that's not your job, don't do it. I want to build a school community where people see needs and they take action to fill those needs. So obviously, the roles of the different school personnel are going to be different. For example, as a principal, I'm not going to be in a classroom day after day for every minute instructing kids. That's just not the nature of my job. That's for the teachers and the paraprofessionals to be doing those things. But in my role, I have a very specific thing to do create a vision and work with the staff and students to make sure that that vision is brought to fruition and things are running smoothly. So within this, I know it looks like you could argue that they're either all equal or that the principal's at the top and the cooks are at the bottom. And I would lean more towards they're all equal. They all have an important task to do. But obviously the principal is the leader in communicating the vision and then assigning roles and encouraging people to do their job to the best of their ability. But as I said earlier, if you take away one of those things, okay, going back to the golf analogy, if you take away one of those things, this tee starts to lean and eventually that ball is going to fall off the tee and it's not going to be prepared for success. At the bottom of this, you see parents, alumni, and community. They are like the ground that the tee goes into. They are the foundation for everything else. Yeah, I was blessed to grow up in a district where the community pride in our school was something that everyone in the community took very seriously. And that's the same situation for the school that I'm working in now. And so that is my vision, that we have a community that is proud of the school, proud of the students in that school, proud of what the staff and students can achieve. We've got alumni that are invested in giving back to that school community. We've got parents who are involved both with their students, but also with the school as a whole. And that's the foundation that I really see going back to that idea of when people see a need, they take action to fulfill that need. And I think that goes beyond just the actual walls of the school building. It takes a village to raise a child, and I really believe that statement is true. So within this, you can see that there's one thing that I've neglected, and that's the driver. I would like to think of the driver as kind of like the real world, because you've got the ball propped up on that tee, but in reality, there's no action there. It's just sitting there. So I like to think of the driver as the real world. When students complete their academic career, the goal is that they move into the real world and they contribute in a meaningful way. And so I see the driver as the real world, because the real world, if students aren't prepared, it's going to either drive them out of bounds or it's just going to pound them into the ground. And that's obviously not what we want. Ideally, we want our students to interact with that driver in a way that they get a push in the right direction, but then they're in flight and they're soaring and they're being successful. And I think we can all agree that that would be a hole-in-one that we can all be proud of. Thanks for listening, folks.